Gotta love that sound. What's up guys, my name is Marc Steiner, and today we are actually doing something a little bit different. I, as you can see, now have a film camera, and I finished my first roll of film the other day. So we are going to be looking at / critiquing these film photos, because I've never done this before and I'm really excited. So let's jump right into the laptop and I can show you what I have. Now I actually haven't seen these photos yet, so I'm very interested to see how they came out. I have no idea what to expect from this film. I was shooting on Portra 160, which I thought was a very nice looking film, and I thought that it gave it that film vibe, which is what I was looking for, because up until this point, every time I think of film, I think of these like film simulations that I've been using on my RAW files. So it's very interesting to shoot actual film and see how it comes out. So this first photo here is of my friend Allie. She was actually teaching me how to use this camera and shoot film. And I think this is super cute. The grain is pretty interesting on this one. I like the blacks. We were indoors, so the lighting was a little more artificial, but it looked great, I think. I think that's super cute. And this camera, it doesn't have autofocus, so everything is manual focus, and it was just super cool to play with a manual focus ring and try and get everything in focus. So, next photo. I took this of one of these buildings, iconic buildings in downtown Phoenix, and I really liked it. I thought it was cool. I'm surprised at how well the dynamic range is on this film. Like, this was in broad daylight. I think that looks super cool. Okay, this is another in the middle of downtown Phoenix shot. My friend Allie again is here. We took this in front of this Hotel San Carlos sign, which I thought was pretty cool. And when you were there, you could actually see she was like completely in shadow. I was really worried with how that photo was going to turn out because we have blown out highlights and really dark shadows. But again, this dynamic range is really surprising me here. This looks genuinely good. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't think film is that different from, like, this film anyway. It doesn't look that crazy different. If you showed me this, I wouldn't say that it was film, you know? I think that's pretty cool. Alright, here, this is where things were a little bit overexposed, and I feel like that's probably gonna happen more as we go through these. Her skin tone is a little bit blown out. It was in broad daylight. I think we were shooting between 12 to 3, so very, very high noonish in Arizona. Okay, I really love this shot. I think, yeah, I nailed focus pretty much here. The highlights are a little bit blown out, but you can still see what the photo is. She looks super cute. I really like that photo. And I love flowers, so flowers always come out really good. But yeah, the highlights aren't as blown out as I was thinking. All right, here we have a iconic car, old-timey vehicle. I love shooting here, but again, things are blown out. But I'm also impressed at how good it kept her. There's a little line, I don't think that was in camera, but I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, I'm impressed with how well it's doing with dynamic range, even though it is overexposed beyond compare. Alright, next photo. So we have some palm trees here. I'm really digging this. The colors are nice. The greens are nice film greens. I would say that this overall has a more green tint than magenta tint, and I think it looks very filmy. Okay, here again, overexposed, which is unfortunate because I really like this, but the greens are popping. Like, the greens came out really well. I'm really liking these greens here. All right, this is another building, downtown Phoenix. I really like the palm trees and everything. A little bit overexposed, but I think it works for this photo. You know, we have some very darks in the trees and the shadows here, but it retains the detail. All right, so this is probably one of my favorite shots with Allie. Got her sitting down in the green grass. And the grass, again, looks really well, like really good. I love those green tones here. Like, it just, there's something about those greens, man. I'm really digging it. Plus, it's just it's a cute photo, you know? More with the palm trees here. I missed focus on this one, which is a little bit unfortunate. But when you're shooting completely manual, that kind of comes with the territory, and it adds that, like, film thing, yeah, it adds to it, you know? I feel like it adds a little bit of character because you're not expected to get super sharp focus every time when you have no assisting and you're just eyeballing it. So although she's a little bit soft, it's not horrible. It just makes her skin look a little bit more glowy than usual. This one is another one of my favorite shots because one, flowers. But again, here the dynamic range is pretty good. We were in super dark shadows and then super high highlights, so she came out great. She is in focus. She has a great smile. The greens, again, I wish we had a little bit more like magenta red tones in these flowers because they were quite pink, but because it's overexposed, they came out very white, which is unfortunate. I love this shot because of the bokeh. Look at that. Look at those balls. Like, this is, I was shooting with a vintage Canon 50mm 1.8 lens. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm really liking this bokeh here. Like, they're relatively round. They're not the most round thing I've ever seen, but I'd say they're probably more oval, but they have this like cool ghosting kind of effect going on, and I like that. It adds character, and her camera here looks super cool around her neck. And again, this is a super contrasty image, lots of dynamic range going on here, like lots of highlights, and then she was completely in shadow. I was super worried about this shot as well, but it came out pretty good, so I'm happy with that. So this shot is of a model, her name is Jay. I thought it was super cool. Again, to compensate for her skin tone, I think the camera blew out the highlights, which is unfortunate because I thought that was really cool, but still, I think this shot has a lot of character, the greens look good, and her skin tones came out really good, which is what I was most worried about, but it looks great, and I think it's a great shot. This is another one of my friend Allie here. As you can see, she's a little bit overexposed, but again, it's reasonable for what we were expecting. Like, her skin tone is a little bit blown out, but it's film, you can get away with it. I think it's super cute, and I really like this clock tower and these greens. It was good. Again, we have Allie here in this like field of green, nice trees. We have a little bit of bokeh going on in the background here, so a little bit of that circular goodness, but not as much as I was hoping for. I really like these greens. It adds that film look. We have this little bird here in the background. Didn't see that. Alright, so this is of Jay again. I'm super happy with how this one came out. The lighting was not great when we took this photo, but the camera did a great job, film did a great job, got her skin tones, got the good moment. Nothing was overexposed or underexposed. Her skin tones, like this photo, is probably the best balanced photo yet, so I'm super happy about that. This photo is of my model friend Rebecca. She slayed this outfit. Absolutely. Her skin tones, I think, like maybe a little bit overexposed, but I think that works. It's fine. It adds that glow to her face, and I think she's a little bit out of focus. She's a little soft, but overall, like, I think it did a very good job. We have like this very black background going on here, so yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's not bad at all, and like it retained a lot of detail here, especially on her outfit. We can see the gold trimming. I really like that. It looks good. All right, so this shot, we have my friend Elizabeth, and we wanted like a more vintagey vibe outfit going for this because of the fact that it was film. So I wanted to shoot at this park, and it came out really nice. She had this great denim overall skirt going, and I really liked it. It came out well. I do wish I could have blurred the background a little bit more, but because again we were shooting in broad daylight, the shutter speed on this camera only goes up to 1000, and on my Sony it goes up to 8000, so you have a lot more room to play with exposure because of that. So because of that, you have to close down your aperture, which means less depth of field. But I really like how this shot came out. I really like this shot. I took a lot of these shots on my Sony camera, so I have a more digital version, and I prefer those ones. But again, these greens came out really well. Her skin tone came out really well as well. It has this definitely more of a green tint than a magenta tint. I like that more red magenta tint in most of my photos because I like it. It brings out the skin tones. But I think that looks super cool. I really like that. And I'm very surprised at how saturated these photos are. I was expecting film to be super desaturated. I was expecting a lot more grain. Yeah, I'm very impressed with this. Alright, this is another one of my friend Elizabeth. We have her here with some ducks at this little artificial lake here. Again, super blown out highlights, but that's to be expected. We were shooting directly into the sun. So it came out. Her skin tone is fine. I'm very happy with that. We got a genuine little moment there. Alright, this one also definitely overexposed, but again, I think it works with the film. I'm really liking how saturated these colors are. Like, I just did not expect that at all on film. I was expecting, yeah, a lot more desaturated colors, and we're getting very popping, vibrant colors. We have this like the blue lake in the background, who is super blue. We have all these greens here. I think that looks great. This one was probably one of my favorite photos I shot on this roll of film because I felt like it added that vintage vibe with, I don't know, it felt like we were in Paris somewhere in the 1950s. The blues here are not as saturated, we have a much more green tint to the water, but I think that's just because of the way the water was getting hit with the sun and the fact that the highlights, again, are overblown, which is unfortunate. But I really just like the emotion we caught in her face with the wind blowing in her hair. I think that adds a lot of character to the shot. And the sun hitting her hair is not overexposed beyond compare, so you have some nice backlighting there. I really like that photo. Another one of my favorite ones with Elizabeth, we have super saturated blues, super saturated greens, and there's this one goose that felt like flapping its wings, and I'm super impressed that I was able to get it on camera. But here we are, we have this, so I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, she's a little bit overblown, but again, we can get away with it on film, and that's fine. I also really like this photo. I got her like in the motion of walking with more geese in the background. Again, these greens are super saturated. The sky is still like not overblown, which I'm very impressed at. It retained that blue detail, which I think is very important. I really like it. It suits everything. This one I was very, very like impressed with. If you showed me this photo, I would not have thought that this was shot on film. Like, I thought this was either on like a super nice iPhone edited or like a digital camera with a high aperture, like maybe like f4, f8. This shot I just absolutely love. These greens are just so saturated, the blues, everything. Like, her skin tone is a little bit overexposed, just the hair overexposed, but that just like adds character to the shot, makes her skin like glow a little bit, so I'm totally fine with that. Again, I was not expecting any of this on film, so I'm super happy with how that shot came out. Like, it just really was a great shot. So I decided to get like a wider angle shot, so I got pretty far back with this one. I got her to stand there in the middle of the two palm trees, and I wanted the two palm trees in the shot, so she's very small in this shot, but I think it's super cool. I like having those palm trees in the shot. I think it adds a lot, and we still have this like this really blue sky contrast with like these really punchy greens here, and she's not that overexposed. Like, this whole image is exposed relatively well. I'm very impressed with that. Like, we were shooting in very harsh sunlight, so I'm very impressed with this. This one, and I think the one after this, again, one of my favorite shots. You might see my shadow in the corner here, but we decided to get some flowers for this shot, and she wanted to hold them, and I thought that was super cool. It added some red to the image, which I think was sorely lacking. So again, these greens, these blues, she's a little bit overexposed again, but it works. Here I told her to lean against this tree, and I really like this shot because the blues, these blues are so deep, they're so saturated, and like there's this nice like graduated dark to light going. I really like it. Like, the fact, and like the sky isn't even that overexposed. Like, everything is pretty good. Her skin tones are a little bit white, but that's fine. Like, again, we have these nice palm trees, we got the rule of thirds going. I think that looks really cool. This one is like half tree, half her. If I was shooting digital, I probably would have gotten a lot closer, but I really like this tree taking up half the image and then like this beautiful blue in the background, and her face is very symmetrical, so it works out, and she has these beautiful bright blue eyes, so yeah, why not? Alright, this one was one of my favorite photos. She's standing here, she's holding these flowers that we picked, and it's just, like, her skin tone is great, her reaction is great, like the lack of smiling. Her eyes are just catching all that light, and it looks so good. The blues are really nice, the greens are just popping, and they go well with her outfit. I will say that, like, it's just a little bit tinted too green for me, like a little bit, just a little bit. Like, I'm so impressed with how saturated these colors are. Like, they are popping. Like, I'm so impressed with how this roll of film came out. So yeah, I am super impressed with how this roll of film came out. I did not at all expect it to look like that. And my friend Allie, I showed her these photos, and she was saying that that's probably the best first roll of film she's seen, and I took that as a great compliment. I was expecting my first roll of film to come out much worse, and I had no idea what to expect. So I'm really excited to continue practicing and messing around with and having fun with film. It's just like, there's something about film, you know? It's this old-time vintagey thing that you don't see nowadays, and it's a new way of looking at photography. And I will say that when shooting film, I was much more selective with what I shot, because when I'm shooting digital, on my 64GB SD card, I can take 1200, 1400 images before I have to switch out to my next SD card. That's a lot of photos, and when you're going through culling and editing, you have to find like 15, 20, 50 winners of 1400. That's a lot of photos. But for here, when I was shooting with a roll of 36, you're like, is this photo really worth it? And it makes you think about whether or not you should take the photo, because the price per photo is very expensive and you don't want to waste film. So I think film definitely does help that mentality of picking and choosing the best possible shots before you actually click the shutter button. Alright guys, that's it for me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. I know that you will not regret it. Let me know in the comment section down below if this is something that you actually enjoyed. I don't know if I'm going to do more videos like this because it's just me rambling on for a long time about photos that I took. But if you liked it, let me know and I'll consider doing it. My name has been Marc Steiner, and I will see you next time.